Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Force here, and today I'll be providing you guys with an overview as to what we know so far about Runemaster. Runemaster is a Norse-inspired, procedurally generated, turn-based fantasy RPG from Paradox Interactive. This was revealed at ParadoxCon 2014, an event that I attended. I got to hear the pitch about the game, I got to see a little bit of gameplay or take a look at the engine, and I also got to sit down with the developer and talk about their plans for this title. So I want to relay as much of that information that we know so far to you guys so you can have a good idea as to what this title is all about. So once again, this is a Norse-inspired, procedurally generated, turn-based with hex tiles role-playing game. Now, the story, let's talk about the story. Ragnarok is at hand, meaning the end of the world, and you as a player, when you make your character, you get to decide between a variety of races. I think there were 6 races and 3 classes, something like that. That could be not 100% correct, but something along those lines. There's a few different races, a few different classes, and then once you make your character, you have the decision as to whether or not you want to side with Thor and try to stop Ragnarok, or if you want to side with Loki, the trickster, and try to bring about the end of the world. Now, the gameplay itself, well, we didn't get to take a look at the combat because it was in very early alpha, so they just didn't feel it was polished enough and ready to actually show to us, but they did explain how it works. So what's going to happen is your character will be represented by a single character as you move throughout the world. You'll be viewing the world from a top-down perspective, and you'll be moving throughout the environments. Now, there's 6 worlds in this game, including places like Midgard and Muspelheim, just basically some of the different worlds in Norse mythology. And how it's going to work is those worlds are procedurally generated. So every time, let's say you play one game and you're moving throughout the world of Midgard, that will be a different look to when you play another game, or the general art assets and all of that will be the same, but you know, the layout will be different, the paths, the enemies that you encounter, things like that. So the actual movement throughout the world it's live, it's not turn-based. You'll be clicking your character, sort of like Diablo style. You'll be clicking your character, moving through different paths, moving through the woods, things like that. But once you encounter an enemy, say you walk upon a bandit camp, it then moves to a hex-based, turn-based system. So think of something like Might and Magic, for example. You'll have your army on one side, the enemy army on the other side. There'll be different terrain types that will be good for certain character classes and bad for other character classes, say like a swamp area or rocky terrain or mountains or woods. You know, just it's an RPG, hex-based, turn-based, based on those sort of systems. And all sorts of different classes. You'll be able to recruit characters, probably find characters as you move throughout the game. You know, expect like tanks and brawlers and archers and mages and clerics, things of that nature. But then you have the main character that you created. You're going to be able to customize your character. There will be loot in the game. You can acquire gear and weapons. It's not going to be like Diablo in the sense that there's tons of stuff like that. No, it's actually going to be very rare that you find gear, but when you do, it's going to be super exciting. That's what the developer told us in the interview. So that's good. You know, there will be that gear system. There's also going to be a branching skill tree system in which, I guess in basic terms, you could decide, say if you've got a warrior class, do you want to build him tanky? Do you want to build him DPS? You know, something along those lines. They didn't go too much into specific in terms of the types of skills, but they just said it's a branching skill tree system. And when I hear that, that's basically what I think. So you've got that singular character that you move throughout the world with, and then you engage in combat, and anyone you recruit gets dumped into this hex-style turn-based RPG. You fight out the battle, you win or you lose, and then you move on. Beyond that, this game also features emergent storytelling with dialogue trees, so when you have conversations with certain enemies, you can respond sort of like in a positive or negative manner, in a good or bad manner, if you will. And the story and the actions that you have in the game are going to mold the way the story is told to you. The story generation is also done on a procedural level. So not only will the game world look different every time you replay it, so the story, you know, bits and pieces of the story will be different. I expect the overall arc to be the same. You know, if you're siding with Thor, you will eventually end up so that you're killing Loki. If you're siding with Loki, you'll eventually end up so that you're killing Thor, but maybe some of the parts in between will be a little bit different because of the way this emergent storytelling will play out. Now, in terms of that gameplay length, they said they're targeting for the average playthrough 100 hours. That is quite a lengthy RPG, and given that it's in a procedural world, that means that there's a lot of content to be had here. And This is pretty much in line with how Paradox makes a lot of their games. They really focus on lengthy gameplay and lots of replayability for a lot of their titles, and Runemaster looks to be no different. Now, the game is currently planned to release next winter. That could either mean in late 2014 or early 2015, but yeah, sometime, not this winter, but in the upcoming winter is when we are going to expect the launch of the game. Again, still no gameplay. I got to see character moving throughout the forest, like in Midgard. I got to see your character representation moving throughout the world, and like I said, it pretty much looks just like a Diablo-style click and move your character, walk up to NPCs and collect quests from them. But yeah, the combat wasn't available to see, so that's going to be really important, right? How does the combat play? Now, they did also mention that combat isn't going to be non-stop. You won't be fighting enemy after enemy after enemy, and they're trying to make the battles actually mean something, so that when you do encounter that bandit camp, you're not only worried about losing the people that you've recruited or found along the way, but it's also supposed to be a pretty big deal because you're not fighting 100 different bandit camps. You're walking around, I don't know, maybe collecting treasure chests and talking to NPCs, progressing the story, things of that nature. But it seems pretty interesting. It's definitely one of the titles that had me most excited. There's a few things at Paradox Con that I really liked, and I'm going to talk with you guys more about in the future. But for now, thanks for watching this overview of Runemaster, the procedurally generated, Norse-inspired, turn-based, hex-based fantasy RPG from Paradox Interactive. Thanks guys so much for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. I'll keep you up to date as to what we hear about Runemaster in the future, probably on the Force feed, or if I get a chance to actually get access to an early alpha or beta build, you can expect some gameplay as well. Thanks again guys, keep watching and keep owning.